Ready. Good morning, afternoon, evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm George Moss, host of the program comes on at 2 o'clock, and we stay around 3 o'clock here on Mondays here at allpointstv.com. And we are very glad to have you out there in the listening ship and the viewership. Some people come into the studio and they don't have a problem now, but when we first started some years ago, they would come in and we would say, not only are you a voice out there in the listenership, people can actually see you. And they say, there's a camera in here? And we have these small cameras in here. And now we are a much larger studio, and we have these things that we are developing and growing, cameras all over the place. We're always glad to have you with us. And I want you to stay tuned to all the programs here at allpointstv.com. We're working very hard to earn your trust and respect. And everyone here puts a lot of time into it that you don't see on the air. I think most persons, they see people on TV and they think of these persons working for 1 hour, then they go home and you wonder, what are they doing the rest of the time? Well, they're not there just for 1 hour. I can tell you they're putting a lot of time into it, having things lined up, and they pretty much know the order in which things are going to occur in the program. And that takes a lot of organization off camera. And we do the same thing here, come in and we have some things prior to the program going up, and then we also do some things prior to coming to the studio. So it's a lot of things that go on, and we are working very hard to earn the respect of those who pay attention to what we do here at allpointstv.com. And we're here, it seems like we're here for the long run, and I want to give a shout out to my study group. We started 10 years ago with that, and we are still going strong. We lost our headquarters, the place we were at for 10 years. We're now at the library looking for a home, but we are still there. And when we start something, we try to institutionalize it so that it doesn't just go away and become a fly-by-night operation. So stay with us. Well, we're going to be here for a while. Today I want to talk about a couple of topics. I was going to talk last week. We ran out of time. I was going to talk about the monetary issues, and I want to certainly say something about that before I get off the air today. But I want to talk about something that came up last week in Oregon. And I think we have to bring a couple of things to your attention that have not been brought out so much in the media. And I don't know if this amounts to a cover-up or is it just some oversight on their part. I don't think it's oversight on the president's part. But maybe they just have overlooked the fine points underneath the surface of what really occurred at this college where 9 people lost their lives. And of course, whenever you have these kinds of incidents that can be used politically, you'll have this president jumping out in front of it. And his whole modus operandi is to say that we need to start grabbing guns, and he wants to have wants to have gun control. Which, by the way, nobody's even ever defined what gun control is. I mean, how do you control guns? Malinow, the philosopher, made this point. I think it's a very important point. And that is, there's no such thing as gun control. What you have is a centralization of the power in terms of the collection of guns. All you're doing is concentrating power. Because I don't hear anybody talking. Have you heard anybody talking about the government getting rid of its guns? We don't seem to be hearing that. And guns are all around these people in government. They don't go anywhere without their guns. Some of them are, most of the guns that they have around them are covert. But I remember watching when there was the shooting of Ronald Reagan, and when the shooting started, all of a sudden, guns appeared from everywhere. People were up against the wall trying to find out where the shots are coming from and how many shooters were out there. And there was an arsenal of weapons that were there, but you didn't see them until the need for them to come to the surface. The government has a lot of its guns, but in everything the government is involved in, guns are involved. You don't see them, but there's always a gun in the room when government is involved.
Armed accompaniment from state police, like the
Mm-hmm. They believe in guns. That's the problem. They don't want us to have guns. They want us to defend ourselves. And I'll tell you why. If you start getting in the habit of defending yourself and being the custodian of your own life and your own sovereignty, you might then consider the escalated effort that pertains to, and that is others that are taking your liberties on a more grandiose scale, and that will be some folks that's in other arenas. You might want to begin to defend yourself against the political class, and that's something they want you to look at. And you can graduate from this one school of thought in terms of the personal aspect, but the personal is also political. And if you start politicizing this idea, then anyone that's attacking your liberty, you have to defend against it. And that's a growing idea that if it starts at a certain point at a sub-audible level, then it builds up to a crescendo at another level. And I think they're guarding against that. But people have a right to defend themselves. I want to draw your attention to what happened in Oregon, because there are a lot of things that we need to point out here that were not pointed out in the paper, in the news reports. I mean, the president was talking about the guns again. That was almost like you could, predict that. Nobody's surprised the president came out and started talking about guns again. We didn't hear guns. No guns were mentioned at Fort Hood. Did you notice that? That when this shooting occurred, the man killed 13 people and wounded 30 others. Had magazines where he reloaded, I think 1 or 2 times he reloaded his gun and continued to fire at people on a military base. And you would have thought that someone would have said something about the absence of guns. They didn't mention guns because in that case you have to talk about the absence of guns. It took a gun to stop this guy. But no guns are mentioned. The president come out there and talk about guns. They talk about workplace violence. And the press even go into, the status of the work. What kind of work are we talking about? As if it's just a run-of-the-mill job, and they were at work, and some person went postal. You know how they say that postal workers go off and they went postal because of stress in their job, so they went postal. As if this is a case of someone that just simply was overstressed in his job and just went off this workplace violence, just like the postal service workers maybe at some point go off in certain situations. There's nothing more than that. They never talk about the nature of the employment that we're talking about, and that particular fort in particular, because that's the lunching place from which they jump off from there and go off and fight for the liberties of the country. And if the truth had been told in that case, that when they attacked those soldiers at Fort Hood, it had a much larger implication. That was the country was under attack, because those are the people that defend the liberty of the country. So in a sense, we were all, in fact, attacked by it, but this president was defining as workplace violence. Well, in Oregon, the president jumps out again. And this time, it's the guns. All we heard were guns. All the president talked about was get the guns. We have to do something about the guns. And the president's outraged because guns were used in another mass killing, and the guns that were absent is from the scene is forgotten in terms of the shooting stopped when another gun showed up. And what do you think about these places where they have around our children? I think this is very primary to understanding what's going on here. I think a couple of statements are being made about how we feel about our children in this country, not just there, but in a lot of other places as well. But around the children, you see them announcing it's a gun-free zone. Why we have a gun-free zone around where those that cannot vote and those who are most vulnerable, have no guns around them? Around the political class, nothing but guns. You walk into any of these federal buildings, and you're going to be leaving. You're going to go through metal detectors. You're going to go through. You put your money and anything that has something that can set off those metal detectors off. You're going to have all that placed in the baskets on the side. Then you're going through, and you're going to be screened, and then you can go into the building. They're going to make sure they're safe. But
And Obama says it's all due to gun violence and Americans remain clueless. The Federal Services, this is Security Services FSB report, Sunday, October 4th, 2015, that the American black Islamist terrorist suspect who committed the act of mass murder in the state of Oregon, United States, has been including a list of 87,000 known suspected Islamic terrorists, which Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, and the International Criminal Police Agency or organization, Interpol, refused except for the Federation due to not being politically viable. So they actually had intel saying that this guy was on a list of 87,000 suspected
terrorists. Yeah. And they want to deny that that is a problem inside this country. This guy, whose name is Christopher Sean Hopper Mercer, this person was targeting, and this has not been reported widely in the media. It's been an oversight. I think a lot of it is purposeful. I certainly think it's purposeful on the part of this president, who has one position when he thinks Muslims are under attack, and he has a totally different position when the Christians are under attack, which I think this attack in Oregon, I think you're probably aware of it by now. It's certainly been kind of talked about under the radar, but we don't see it in the mainstream media. This guy was targeting Christians. And the reports are he asked persons to identify themselves, asked them if they were Christians. And when some of them told them to stand up, the Christians stand up. And I don't know if they thought that that would, in fact, get them from being targeted, but what it actually ended up being was that they were targeted because they were Christians. Once they stood up, the reports are, and we got these reports from different sources that were there and survived it, some of them playing dead in the room, and were able to report it, and some others were witnesses from a distance, more of a distance. And some of the he said, she said comes in as well. But I'm talking about those who were there to witness this carnage firsthand. Yes.
She said she stated they feel that they based their decision on kill people based upon that response too. So it's been 20-some years going on.
This has been going on for a while. John, there's an article written by Jesse Peterson that came out this morning. And Jesse Peterson was saying that the president has to take some responsibility for what happened in Oregon. I know the hands are not on the trigger, and I know that these persons are very much removed from the environment in which the shooting occurred. But let's understand the environment is in fact painted. I mean, there's an attack upon Christians in this country. And you see it everywhere. You saw it in the Kim Davis case in Kentucky. Has no right to her religious views. And the state comes in to force a particular orientation. You can't get the big cakes now if your religion is abhorrent to some of the things that are going on. You can't pass this off, and they don't know the bakers in the city. You have to go to this baker, make him do it. And people see that, and they can interpret that as the person's being unfair and not treating people equally. And there's a certain venomous relationship that's established with a person that's watching that and cannot get through the talking points to understand what really is going on here. You have a fundamental right in the First Amendment. And if people don't see that, then they take this as somehow there's a fundamental unfairness, and there are certain groups that are bringing that about. And this person was targeting Christians. Those persons that stood up and identified themselves as Christians, those persons were shot in their heads. In fact, some others that did not know what to say, they didn't know if they should say they were Christians or not. What happened in their case is that if they were kind of uncertain, they got shot in the leg. But if they were outright Christians, some of them were asked to crawl and beg for their lives. And I guess I don't know what I would do in that situation. I'm not so sure. Everybody's brave when they're outside the place where this carnage takes place. So we're all brave, on Monday morning quarterbacking and what you would do. I don't know. I think, my right side says I would act a certain way, and then there's also the other side, my cowardly side. But anyway, I guess you try to sustain your life, even if you know you're going to lose it in a few minutes. You just try to sustain it as long as you can, and maybe some intervention will occur. But he asked them to had some of them to crawl and told them to crawl and beg for your life. And some got down and crawled. And once they got through crawling, he shot them in the head, and targeted them because we were Christians. Now, the president was talking about guns, right? If this had been Muslims, this would not have been seen as a gun issue. It would have been seen as a hate crime. And this president, who has been very open to making everything political, in fact, he got out here in this particular case and politicized it before we even knew all the details. And really, the first thing the president should have been doing, quite frankly, we all want to be honest about it, the president should have, first of all, offered his condolences to the families who had lost their loved ones. This was not something that just happened once. There were 9 children who were dead. Their parents saw them off to school, and now those children are dead, and the president said nothing about them, no condolences being mentioned, and went right to the gun issue. Got to control the guns. We got to find some way to get around the Second Amendment. We got to impose more restrictions. And of course, the bottom line, and we all see it now because it's been going on for 7 years under this administration. And we all see it now. What this is really about is an attack upon American liberties, because once you get the guns, then what happens? What do you think is going to happen? I mean, why are they so much on taking up the guns and overlooking the fact that it took a gun to stop this person?
Because they think, they want you to believe you got to be a person wearing a uniform.
That's exactly it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They got this like aura they try to build up. The cops are encouraged to the degree. They believe they all that they're superhuman. They can shoot. They can protect you. They're on a mission.
From a distance.
About bullets will bounce off them. They're the only ones possess knowledge. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They show the cop. There's this recent survey showing that most people who are just learning how to shoot a gun and they're trained decently can actually place the shots in a smaller target area, like it would be the headshots, than most cops can.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why are they considered these? I mean, being a cop is more than just being able to shoot a gun.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a conflict resolution, be able to aware of your situation, how to avoid situations. You basically, you have to have more diplomacy skills to actually be a cop, in my opinion, than being just fast draw.
Yeah. John, I don't know if you've seen this commercial. There's a series of them on air that have to do with the NRA. Have you seen those commercials about the NRA where they'll say, after having some other words to it, they'll end it by saying, I am the NRA, and it is here where liberty is protected, or something to that effect. Have you seen that commercial? It is a wonderful commercial. They've had they have a whole spiel they go through, and the end of it is that they announce that they are the NRA, and of course what they're saying here is that we need to have arms. Of course, we're talking about responsible use of arms in the country, but we have the right in the Second Amendment to arm ourselves, and the politicians who are, in fact, around people who are armed, and they certainly defend them, they want to take the Second Amendment rights away from the American people and act like it's not there. And I think the position where it's located in the Constitution is also a very serious matter. You know, after the First Amendment, which, of course, when they ratified the Constitution in 1788, you know, having drawn it up in 1787, then they had submitted to the states out of the convention they had in Philadelphia, and then they had submitted to the states for ratification, taking, 3/4. Today it takes 2/3 of the members of the House, 2/3 of the members of the Senate to propose the amendment, and then what you do there is to have 3/4 of the states to ratify. That's one way in which has occurred in this country. There is another process we don't talk about, which is that can start at the state level. 2/3 of the states can make a suggestion about amending the Constitution, and then it's ratified by 3/4 of the states in convention. That's also a process. We need to use that process because it can bypass the federal government. But what they did was to draw the document up, and then they submitted it to the states for the ratification, 13 states at that time, and it was the 10 amendments, there were 20 of them proposed, 12 of them that were submitted to the states. And 10 of them, the Bill of Rights, were in fact ratified by the states. They threw 2 of them out at the end result. But what they kept in there was Amendment 1, which was the prohibition against the federal government as relates to speech, assembly, petition, religion, and the right to petition the government. And then behind that, I think it's very significant that once they put that in place, because I don't think this has anything to do with hunting. Do you think this has anything to do with hunting? Because after the First Amendment was placed in the Bill of Rights, they came right behind it with the Second Amendment. Now, don't forget that the Bill of Rights is a restraint upon government power. And to be backed up, as Judge Napolitano has said, and I think it's very right on this point, wrong on some other points, but right here, and that is so that if people had to defend their liberties against the government, because these liberties are spelled out in the First Amendment to the Constitution. They had demanded that, by the way, before they ratified the Constitution. They said, we're only going to ratify the Constitution only with the idea that we'll come behind it and then we'll amend it to put some particulars in the Constitution to protect our liberties as a free people. I mean, we the people of the United States. And so they came behind it with the idea that they have to now own up to their responsibility to amend it, because these people are not going anywhere, and these are revolutionists. These persons were revolutionaries, and they had fought against, they all had memory at that point of having fought a war for liberty, and this had been promised to them, and those framers and the founding government members, who didn't start dying out until the 1820s. You know, they had John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died the same day on July 4th, 1826. But they were around for a while. Other people were still alive, and they had memory of having fought in this Revolutionary War. And although the promise had been made in 1787, it took them a while. But you can believe this, within the matter of years, 3 years, after they ratified the Constitution in 1788, in 1791, they put 10 amendments, prohibitions against the government, in the Bill of Rights. And they backed it up by putting in the Second Amendment. I think this is what they were doing. I read 85 Federalist Papers in college. And I'll tell you something. We need to go and read those Federalist Papers, because we can now see what the intent was. And the intent was not to go hunting. I mean, give people the right to go and get a gun so you can go out there and deer hunting. You can do that too. But look at where they positioned the Second Amendment, right behind the ones that said, here are your freedoms. And that was restrained government from violating those freedoms. So they knew that was backed up by the gun. All right. Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Traditionally, as much crap as we put down on the local level, the city level, and on the federal level, and the state level, takes crap from the politicians. We have to show them about that. Show them how we really seriously take human life seriously. We don't take the life. But let's face it, if we're so hell bent on destroying people, like all these, like Obama, if you were or tries to depict you as being some nut job, always likes to do that. We were told them a long time ago.
Yeah.
They were good, and maybe that's what they fear, that we have the ability to resist.
That is their fear.
That's what they fear. They don't care about.
They don't care anything about the American people.
If they really cared about it, they would actually stop. We want to put a question about why so many cops kill so many civilians since 2001. If they really care about that, you know, there's over 5,000. You and I want to differ on that, but I think 5,000 dead civilians, many of them show clearly they weren't hard or real threat and death by the cops' hand. Right there shows that they're going to kill on the local level, the state level. The federal government will send people from other parts of the country and annihilate you without any regard, because they don't care about you. They want their way, because they're paid for it. They're paid for by the people to do this to you.
The ones that I think where we disagree is not on that point. We disagree on my point is who are the ones setting them. I'm always going to be looking at the political class, because that is the ones in whose employ they are acting. They are acting in the employer of the politicians, and they're getting their cues from the political class in this country. I do understand the surrogate role they're playing, and that is, because some of my friends believe that if something broke out in the country, that the military would automatically side with the people. And that is not the way in which the mentality is ordered in this country, because if that were the case, there are a lot of things that are happening in this country right now where the defense of the people is paramount. And we don't see anybody rising to the occasion in between the government and the people and standing there saying that these things here are untoward and not constitutionally grounded and we're not going to take it anymore. I mean, that guy hollered at the window, we're not going to take it anymore. And we don't see anybody doing that. And they are taking their orders, and they're kind of trained into taking their orders. And those that were not in lockstep, some of them have been dismissed because they kind of figured it out that there are some that's not kind of like, we don't hear they're quacking quite as much over here as we're hearing over here. So those persons over there got dismissed, and then the ones over here were retained. And you'd be surprised how many persons have been put out the military because of that fear. There was some unsettlement inside of the establishment that they didn't want to pretend because it is dangerous for their rule. I mean, this is all about power. So I look at it. John and I kind of talk about this all the time. And in fact, I think my thing is that they're so ruthless that they have even set the people up against the police. And those are the ones they put out there to maintain order in their name on the streets. And then they're so criminal and crooked, they then turn the people against the police, who are their surrogates on the street. You think these people are not criminals? I've been writing on this on my Facebook wall, and I'll tell you something. I've been going after these persons because this is a teachable moment, and we've got to understand what we're looking at. These people are, I can't even begin. I'm just trying to find some words when I'm writing. I put about 2 hours into my posts. I write probably the longest posts on Facebook. Some of them are like, book. I'm trying to get under 4 pages. It's very hard. I try to do that. I've already written my article for the day because I get to go home and read for my study group that comes up on Thursday. So I've already posted that, so I go back and do some studying for this group that I'm mentoring to. And these are adults that have read something, so I can't go in there and filibuster. And I wouldn't do that anyway, but you can't do that with these people because they're doing a lot of reading. But I've done my article already for the day, and I did a thing on the media and these politicians. I showed that they are in bed together, and they are the ones who are scratching each other's backs. That's the way it operates. And you see them coming out of the woodwork right now to, in fact, defend the politician, the political class, because we got an insurgency taking place right now. We see it in the Republican Party more so than we see it in the Democratic Party, but there's insurgency going on, and the polls indicate that. And they had the sacrifice of Boehner. They threw some red meat out there to the lions because in the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion is not sleeping tonight. And what's that song put out by the other singer called, what she said, you can't stay in bed forever? You know how the press and the politicians are in bed together and they make strange bedfellows? Well, you can't stay in bed together either. And they threw that red meat out there and sacrificed Boehner and threw him out there as if he's the totality of the problem in Washington. Because let's face it, we threw the Democrats out in 2010. They control both. Democrats control the presidency, the House, and the Senate. When Obama was elected in 2008, they had it all. They had the presidential office under Obama. They had this Harry Reid over there in the Senate, blocking everything, making sure it never gets to Obama's desk, so we couldn't see what he was doing, so it looked like it was all Bush's fault. They didn't see Harry Reid standing at the gate, making sure nothing went to Obama's desk, so he wouldn't be vetoing anything. It stopped in the Senate, so it wouldn't get to Obama, so it looked like he was doing this job when he was doing another job. They were heading him off at the pass and surrounding him with all these controls so you couldn't see what was going on. So they took the House in 2010 and put that in the Republicans' hands. So we have the Republican Party right now changing its gate, changing its leadership. No longer is Pelosi standing at the gate as a guardian. Now we put Boehner in there and take Pelosi out. And guess what? Nothing happened. So they told the American people, we need to also control the Senate. And so the American voters, they don't see this game, and they're trying to find some way to impose its will upon its political leaders, the political class, the political elite. And so they went to the polls again because the American people are trying to resolve this problem. They're trying to break through this quagmire and solve this problem. They see a problem in the country. They're trying to find out how to deal with this problem. I think there's a way to deal with it. You listening? Throw the bombs out. And in the book by Bennett and De Lorenzo, they say, well, that's impossible because you see the problem right now is you can't throw the bombs out because you got the other bombs, you throw them in. But now you're kind of getting something they're scared of, and that is you're looking outside of the establishment class. And that's why these persons are fretting and they're frantic right now, and they're in a frenzy because they see that in the polls over there, they got the top three. They don't even have a part of the establishment. They're all part of the establishment if they've been elected to office somewhere. Doesn't matter what level they've been elected, they're part of the establishment. But have you noticed that none of those guys are anywhere up there in the polls? And the press comes out telling us that, I was looking at these headlines, that the press telling us that they're gonna, that they have one headline saying, Trump, what will get Trump to drop out? As if the man is thinking about dropping out, he's leaving the poll and talking about dropping out. Well, we have some amendment, we have some rights in this country. And we have the right to defend ourselves, to defend those rights against whoever is in the place of trying to take those rights from us. If our liberties are under attack, whoever those liberties are being attacked from because they're constitutionally grounded, we have the right to defend those rights. But if you start out at the local level, then you begin to grow what? To the state level. And then from there you go to the other levels. And you eventually you begin to look in Washington and see what the attack is there, because that's an all-out assault that's going on the national level. I mean, you can forget that stuff you're talking about in terms of we the people of the United States. You know how they say we, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I have to tell you something. That's all illusory, because there's no democracy in America anymore. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry to have to come and report that. But I can't come here and lie about how bad things are in this country. There's no liberty in America. There's no democracy in America. We are being ruled in this country. We're not being governed, being ruled. And you saw that in terms of, you see it everywhere, but you saw it most recently in this police shooting. If they had really wanted to be honest with the American people, this is a good time to do it. Because it's very obvious, and that school, by the way, has a gun-free. Now, a gun-free zone, nobody can break. You got a statement about no guns. Okay, all the honest people, they will go along with that. What about the criminals? They see a sign up there that says gun-free zone. Okay, let's just think about the criminal. Let's get out of our mindset, because most of us are law-abiding and we believe in following the law. People are mostly, if we were all gangsters and not law-abiding, we'd have chaos out here, right? Most of us are able to govern ourselves. And not to be out here doing things that tear down the society, because we know our relationship to each other. And if we do not, in fact, have order, then we're affected by it. I wish somebody had understood that before this gangster went off. because a lot of things are going on there. But okay, he went into a known. He was a student at that school. He went into a known gun-free zone. And have you noticed all these shootings are going on in these places that announced it ahead of time that they're gun-free zones? They're going in schools and shooting, and they're going in theaters. How many person go to a theater and you armed in the theater? You going to watch a movie. I stopped going to the theaters, quite frankly. If I go in the afternoon. I'm not going in the evening. In the dark, and I'm sitting in front of some folks. I don't know what's going on in that theater. It's in there in the dark, and got people in there that's not being checked. They think, and we know that people not going in there to defend themselves, and they're going off in theaters. They're going off in schools. They're going off on college campuses. They're going off where are they going off? Wherever there is a known situation in place where there are no guns on the scene, that's where they're going off. I've yet to see somebody go to a police station, where they have these gun racks, shotguns in the racks and everything, and break the guns. I have yet to see anybody going down there and firing, through the windows, or going into the buildings and storming the buildings. And this guy goes in there, and 13 people lost their lives, and some others were killed, were wounded, and some critical condition. I mean, this was a serious matter here. And the president comes out talking about guns, and not the absence of guns. Didn't say anything about the guns that showed up. This guy committed suicide, by the way. Because you see, that's another thing that goes on. Once another gun shows up, what you notice here is that these persons end up, because they're cowards basically, and that's why they go in these gun-free zones. These are not, your people that go off in the battle that show some courage in terms of that, and because the person that goes into the military knows the other guy on the other side of that battlefield, that guy's armed too, and they go out there to face that guy and stand him down. That's courage. This is not courage here. This is cowardice. And every time you look at these situations, you see something that really is quite interesting. Once some other guns show up, those guys end up and turn their guns on themselves. We need to understand what that means, and how criminally it is for this president to get out there talking about guns rather than to tell the American people the truth. And several truths, but one of the truths is that this guy would not have stopped until, and I give the police department a lot of credit for getting there as quickly as they did. So then there was no armed person on the campus. The guards are not there, so they're not going to be able to do anything. You couldn't even bring a knife in there, a knife to a gunfight. And some of those guys, by the way, because it was a gun-free zone, there was some people that were armed in the school. They brought their guns in there. Brought their guns in there because they were, some of them just brought the guns in there anyway. And they're locking them down. Some of those guys wanted to go in there and confront this guy. One guy who had a military background was shot 7 times. He wasn't armed. This guy that had military training and wanted to intervene. He went in there, but there were some guys that had guns and wanted to go in there, and they locked them down. That's how bad it was. If somebody had been there that was a political figure, I can guarantee you this: if there had been some shooting around some of these political figures, that would not have happened. Because that's how we've been orientated inside the country. And I want to tell this president, up close and personal, that this is not a gun issue in terms of standing people down from carrying guns and being armed in this country. You have the Second Amendment right to do that. And you have the right to defend yourself. You don't have the right to initiate force. But once somebody's initiated force, you have the right to defend yourself against that force that's been initiated, because the force that is legally constituted is the force of the state. They're the only ones that can legally, because they are not always legitimately doing it, but they're the only ones that can legally initiate force in this country. But once force is initiated by other sources and is a threat upon your life, it is in fact criminal to tell a person that they need his guns, because he's going to surrender his guns because he's a law-abiding person, and let the criminals be armed. And how's that working out for us in places like, let me name some places here, like Chicago. How's that working out in Chicago, where you have the strongest gun control, as if you can control guns. That's a misnomer, misdemeanor, everything else. That's a felony. You name it. It's a criminal act. You can't control guns. That's a political mirage. You can't control guns. Gun control. What does that mean? It doesn't have any meaning. With that, all you can do is what Melanie was talking about. And that is, you can in fact concentrate where the guns are housed and centralize it into a certain place, a certain location, away from the American people. But you cannot control guns in this country. I mean, look, you have people. Let me show you how inept the government is. You have the government cannot keep drugs out of the prisons. Do you understand that there are people behind bars and they are locked up, and we know where they are, we know where their cells are, we know what time they get up in the morning, and all that's by design. There's a regimentation in there, and persons are in the prisons, and yet they got drugs inside the prison, and the government can't get the drugs out. If you can't control that and then control the environment, let me tell you something. You can't control guns in this country. And that's my only proof. I got other proof too, but that's proof right there. Your war on drugs, we want to control drugs. Okay, fine. How's that working out? You got to be kidding me. In the prison. Yeah. Yeah. John, it's a mirage. They're creating a lot of mirages out here, and we're falling right into it because they want us to see them as the safe. Let me give you another example of that. They keep telling us that 5% of the people in the United States control 50% of the wealth. So, what's the idea here? The government has to come in and make things that are fundamentally unfair. Look at how the resources are distributed. 5% of the people have 10 times their percentage in the population of the wealth of the country. 5% of the people got 50% of the wealth. And lo and behold, and woe is me, and look at how power and money is distributed in the country, and the government has come in because they're the good guys and they must rescue us from that. Well, let me tell you this, okay? Let me see if I can make an analogy here. I have a shirt on right now. I control 100% of the shirts in my house. I own all the shirts, 100% of the shirts in my house. Now, how many shirts, by me having 100% of the 100% of the control of the shirts in my house, how am I keeping Johnny down the street from having a shirt? Can you answer that for me? They're going to act like, that's why I like Donald Trump so much. They're going to act like by somebody having 50% of the wealth, 5% got 50% of the wealth. Look at these guys that got your wealth because you don't have it. Well, okay, fine. I got 100% of my shirts and you don't have that either. Did I take it from you? You see, these are political mirages thrown out there. And it's very purposeful and very effective. Because these people are at war with you. and they're at war with this country. And that's a fact. Those of you who think they got a long-range plan, they don't think between now and tomorrow. They got a 20. They're going to by the time Obama leaves office, we had $10.6 trillion deficit when Obama took office in 2009. That's a day. We're talking about December the 7th, 1941 is a day living in infamy. Another day is going to live in infamy as far as I'm concerned. Listen to me close here. There's another day, a more recent date that's going to live in infamy. January 20th, 2009. That's the date in which Obama took office. We never seen anything like this before. This country absolutely has never seen anything like this before in its entire history. We've never had a leader of this country that was in there purposely undermining the integrity of this country. I have to tell you something. This is very strange. This is very real. You know how they were telling us last week that Putin was in Syria? Yeah, he's in Syria at the invitation of Assad, the head of the government in Syria. He didn't just walk in there. He's the head of the government in Syria. Putin is looked at as being in Syria as a problem for Obama. Looks at him as being there, and all of Syria gets oppressed and so on, as being a problem in Syria. But what Putin is doing is fighting to keep the Assad government in power. We're fighting to get him out of power. But where's the problem that Assad is posing for the government of the United States? And why do we want him out of power if he's posed no problem in his leadership since he's been there? He's not a problem for us. The ones out there that the Russians are bombing is a problem for us. And none of them have been identified. And now they're talking about bringing in this country, 10,000? At first it was mentioned 10,000. Now we're hearing, it went from 10,000, 15,000. Now we're hearing 200,000 Syrians coming in here. You better listen to Donald Trump on this one. They come in here to do jihad. And let's understand what Donald Trump is saying. Donald Trump is saying that these people, what you notice, and whenever you see refugees, you have to go and look at the women and the children. For example, the Bible says when they had the Exodus, right, it says 600,000 men. What do I think just men were out of there? But when you look at the men, 600,000 men. How many people though? It's about 2.3 million, because what you have to do in that particular situation there is understand that what has not been counted is the women and the children. So 600,000, and then they're saying the estimate will therefore be 2.3 million total. Then that means how many women and children? Well, in this particular refugeeing that we're seeing going on right now coming out of Syria, what Donald Trump has said, and he's been excoriated for it, saying that what he's noticed here is a lot of able, strong-bodied looking men that's in this group. And what we see that's absent is an absence of a lot of women and children. So what is this? Let me ask you this question, Angela Merkel in Germany. Did you take a poll on how many people in Germany want you to, in fact, do what you're doing over there? And what about David Cameron? Did you go and check with the English people? We can't. Yeah. That mindset of the political elite. We don't have. Let's be honest here. And some people, you'll hear this every once in a while. It slips through that the people are saying we're not blaming the American people. So they say we don't have a problem with the American people. Now that's kind of an interesting statement. If you listen to it very carefully, they'll say we don't have a problem with the American people. Because what they've done outside the country is that they have disaggregated the American people and separated them from their leadership. because of this fact. And here's something that's very cold and it seems like it's very harsh to say this, but this is the absolute truth. Like you see over there in Germany under Angela Merkel. In France, you see it under Francois Hollande. And you see it under this other leader, all three of them buffoons, David Cameron in England. These people are mad. All three of them are mad. And they are in denial about what they're doing. Merkel, for example, talking about they can take up to 500,000 of these people coming into Germany a year. You do that. Just do that. And see what happens. Bringing in people who have come from different cultures that are unlike each other. When the Shia, and these are mostly Shia Muslims, that the Sunni Muslim, 90% of the Muslims are Sunni. Did you notice that all those governments around Syria would not take them in? Most of those countries didn't take any of them in. And they're more like, the Shia are more like the Sunni than they are like anything in the West. Sharia law is a pattern of behavior ordered in both the Shia and Sunni community, but it's unlike what's ordered in the Western societies, where Sharia law, as is here and as is the case in Western Europe, is not palatable to those codes of behavior in those Western countries. But they're going in there, right, unlike, and they're supposed to somehow merge into these societies where they have not merged into it, those who are already there. And so it's a formula, for disaster. What does it mean, though? It means that the people don't have, as we don't have here, any control over their governments. We don't have any control over what our leaders do. That's a mirage. We vote them in, and we can vote them out. And I hope we start doing that with some regularity. But once they get into office, we don't have anything to say on what they do. And one of the examples is this treaty. I want to capitalize the word treaty because you cannot make an agreement with the president cannot make an agreement with another nation under executive order, because then the president then is dictating to the rest of the government the terms in which we will deal with leaders outside the country. You cannot do that through executive agreement. There is absolutely, and you show me where I'm wrong on this, there's absolutely nothing in the Constitution that allows the president to do this through executive agreement. In Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 is very clear. The president, with input from the Senate, not even the whole Congress, can make a treaty to which 2/3 of the senators has already been involved in the process, probably advising the president about the do's and don'ts and where the red lines are, and they're in conversation with each other. You think about it? You think this president was talking to the members of the Senate? No, he's dictating to them, tell them what they would do and what they would not do. And so now, through this executive agreement that the president singly, through John Kerry, who was a traitor and was a traitor back there during the Vietnam War. And how is he Secretary of State? I'll let you figure that one out. How is the male component or the male aspect of Jane Fonda, Hanoi Jane, during the Vietnam War, how is he the Secretary of State? How did that happen? Who appointed him? And how was he approved? When you see that, you begin to understand some things, right? Secretary of State. And they are singly and dictatorially signing an agreement, which they can do that. But since it's a treaty, though, see, there's an agreement at that point there. But it has to be submitted as a treaty that they have agreed to. The question is the check and balance system. And who else has agreed to it? Who else is compelled in Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2? Go look it up for yourselves. Who else has to agree to it? The Senate. 2/3 of the Senate has to agree to it. This is not just a majority. This is a serious matter. When you negotiate a treaty that affects the whole nation, this is a serious matter. So they made it a super majority. Not 51 senators, 2/3, 6 or 7 of them if they're all present. If they're all present, it would require 6 or 7 because there are 100 senators. That's a very tall hurdle. It has to be a very popular treaty to pass that hurdle. And once it's agreed to by the Senate, guess what else happens? It's not subject to veto by the president. Once the president made the agreement and he puts it in the hands of the senators, then the president hands us off of it at that point. Because if they disagree, then that verdict is final. And yet they're talking about the president is going to be submitted to the House and Senate. And if they disagree, 34 persons, look how they disenfranchise the American people. Right in front of the American people's faces. 34 senators. How did this process get in place in this country with these people running for president? Ted Cruz and all these people running for president, and they let this president get away with this, and they're saying that they couldn't do anything about it? Or that's the other thing is that as long as they all in bed, these are bedfellows. As long as they can get away with it without the American people understanding the process, they will do that. I bet it was a sacrificial animal thrown out there. He was sacrificed to the lions that are waking up to put them back to sleep, as if they are in fact solving the problem by practicing musical chairs, just moving some chairs around. So McCarthy is getting ready to be placed in there. I don't know, maybe McCaffrey. They're now talking about him running. So there's a little bit of unsettlement going on because the question is, and I heard that someone calling for Trey Gowdy to get the House position, but I understand he's leaving out of the House in the next term. I think he's had it. And as quiet as Kel Rubio is had, that's why he's not showing up for these meetings. He realized at the level that he's on in the Senate, he can't do anything. He's going to leave also. The word is out that he's leaving. Coburn from Oklahoma left. You know about Ron Paul having left after so many years in the Senate. Just couldn't, because it's the corruption is people that are honest can't stay in that cesspool. So but anyway, because people's eyes are opening up, what they did was throw Boehner out there to give people red meat. He steps down, and then they cut a deal. Did you notice what happened after he stepped down? Cut a deal, and they were in fact doing what they do, going back to business as usual, giving the president what he wanted, not doing any check and balances, acting like they're frightened. Really, it's an agreement with the president that they have to put the abortion clause in there, the money in there for the abortion, the $500 million the president was asking for, otherwise the whole government shuts down. And that's another mirage, because the government never shuts down. You can't shut the government down. There's no such thing as a government shutdown. You can't. What is it? When you shut the government down, what do you do? Where does the government go? You can't shut the government down. I wish they would do a shutdown of the government. That way we could save their salary. Shut them down and then don't pay them. That's just a vacation. Some people put on vacation. But they got these mirages out here, right? And they're shutting the government down. It's nonsense. They didn't cave. They found a way to shield the agreement with the president to come in under the shield and give the president what he wanted because he wanted the same thing. And once we get our eyes open, as we are beginning to do, we see it in the polls, they are worried about what this means. And that's why they take a lot of time in picking the next speaker, because they're trying to get a handle on what is going on out here. Okay, we're going to wrap this up, and we will get together next week, and I promise I'm going to start next week because I want to talk about the money in the country because that's got to be understood as well about how that's operating. Once I get into that, a lot of things will fall in place, and we'll be discussing that next week. I'm going to start off with that particular topic because that's one of my favorite topics. I've been writing about it, and I'll be discussing that and give you some insights of things that nobody else is talking about because this is really going to be a piece of the puzzle that helps you see what's going on. Okay, until that time, what you do, as always, to follow your dream. Don't let anybody take your dreams from you. If you don't follow your dream, you'll never know what's on the other side of the rainbow.